Welcome everyone to our first episode in Women in Business series, a virtual event Credabl is hosting this March to share the powerful stories, insights and experiences of women in business. This series is in celebration of our International Women's Day. My name is Kahler and I'm a part of the Credabl Queensland team, and today I'll be your host. I've worked in financial services for over 16 years now. Throughout this time, I've been dedicated to partnering with doctors, dentists and vets to fund their practice and personal dreams. Throughout my journey, I've met people who inspire me, and I'm so excited today to have two of these people here on the panel. Tonight, I talk live with Rehabilitation Counsellor and Disability Advocate Chithrani Palipana, together with her son Dinesh Palipana, who is 2021 Queensland Australian of the Year. The story they'll be sharing is one of courage and resilience. Following the chat, we have some time allocated for a live Q&A. So please feel free to submit any questions you have for our panelists throughout the presentation in the live event Q&A section. This is located on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll cover up as many questions as we can at the end of the conversation. If it's not already there, you can click on the box that has a couple of speech bubbles and a question mark to activate the panel. For those of you that are using Android, there might be a slight audio delay when you type in that Q&A section, but that audio will return, so don't worry. If you want to test this out, please write in the box where you're joining us from today and who is the woman in your life that inspires you. Okay, excellent. I can see some responses coming through. So let's get started. So Chithrani and Dinesh, it's so lovely to have you here today. And last year, the ABC shared your story on the Australian Story. It's a story that touched the hearts of many and inspired all of us. Just before we get into the details of your journey together, Chithrani, perhaps you could start with just telling us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you so much for having us here today. And it's an honor to share a little bit of our journey with you all today. So we migrated to Australia in 1994 on Dinesh's 10th birthday. When we came here, we had no family, just some distant friends, and we were left to our own devices. We made new friendships, found amazing opportunities, and built ourselves quite successfully as a family. I've always felt so blessed to be Dinesh's mum. He was a happy child, a typical cheeky teenager, and always kept me on my toes. Even today, after all the life-changing events, I still see that happy, courageous, strong person who loves life. His passion for life is contagious. He lives life to the fullest, and nothing is too big or too small for him. I'm very proud of him, Katie. So yeah, so happy to share some of our experiences with you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Dinesh, in 2010, you were involved in a horrific accident, and I guess that changed both of your lives dramatically. Would you be able to share a little bit about exactly what happened then?
Yeah, in 2010, I was a third-year medical student. We just started third year, and I used to visit my parents in Brisbane. I live in Gold Coast, and I made the drive up most weekends to visit my mum and dad and spend some time with them and just chill and veg and watch TV and just be a slob, really. So it was one of those weekends, and I was driving back. It was the 31st of January 2010. It's just been over 11 years now. And you know, it's you always think about those fateful moments or sliding doors or serendipitous events that happen, but I happened to enter this particular stretch of highway at a particular time, and it was dark because there was roadworks, and I came up to a little black slick on the road, and my car hit that and it lost control, and eventually it started and it ended up rolling nose to tail. So it went on this embankment on the side of the road, came back down, and it started rolling front to back. And then when the car landed, I couldn't move anymore, and I couldn't move my fingers and I couldn't get out of the car. And then I realized that I couldn't feel my legs. So I knew what had happened at that point, and I knew that the worst thing had happened. I can't really begin to tell you what that feeling's like. I don't know if anyone's had any bad news that they've ever got that's just been a shock. It's that feeling, you know, it's that sort of sickening, choking feeling. And I knew that the worst thing had happened, and I had a spinal cord injury. I spent 7 months in hospital after that, and then we spent about another 4 years just putting life back together, because you don't realize, and not even I realized, what kind of toll these sort of events take on a person. And even visibly, there's the paralysis from the spinal cord injury, but you know, there's things like the respiratory functions affected. So last year with COVID was particularly interesting, because people with spinal cord injury are probably more prone to have bad outcomes from COVID-19. You can't control your temperature anymore, so when it gets cold, I get really cold. So we have hot packs and a heater around. So there are all those hidden physical things that you don't see, but the social things are big as well. My dad left not long after the accident, and we haven't seen him for a long time. So my mum's marriage fell apart, and money became really hard. My mum she was coming to see me every single day when I was in the hospital, and it was like a hour and a half drive each way. She'd come first thing in the morning and go home last thing at night. So she had long days, and after a while, her employer, she had to choose between her job and me. So the choice for her was fortunately easy. But still, it's a big deal to give up someone's career for family. And we see this all the time. So things were really tough, and there was a period of time where Mum and I didn't know where we were going to stay the next day, where we didn't have any money, where we didn't have any belongings, where we didn't have anything. So to get from that point to here today is pretty surreal, isn't it? But all these things changed around us, like our friends, family, everything. But we did it together. I've just been really lucky to have an awesome mum that's been so strong and patient and persistent. But she's taught me so much in my life. What she didn't allude to in the previous when she started talking is that the incredibly naughty kid. So she's had to do a lot to keep me safe. So yeah, I'm very grateful to have my mum.
Well, I'm biased. I would say he's a typical cheeky teenager.
Wow, well, that definitely sounds like so scary. Like, you know, I guess, as you said, you know what happened when it impacted, and then like all the changes. So I guess you really would have had to reinvent yourself. And like, how did you know, I guess before the accident, you were building towards your medical degree, and then everything changed. How did you find that strength to continue to, you know, work towards your goal and where you were planning to be?
Well, again, I was lucky to have Mum, but I never stopped thinking about being a doctor. It's something I love so much. I love being a doctor. I love going to work. I love what I get to do. Like it's definitely something that's very close to my heart. So the idea of giving it up was just too much. And a lot of people said, why don't you go back to law? Because I did a law degree before I became a doctor, but you know, they said that would be a lot more sensible and a lot more straightforward. Even some of my closest friends said that. But I couldn't do that for the longest time, because we had to figure out all these different things, like how we're going to survive financially, and how I'm going to get around, and even little things like figuring out how to hold the stethoscope again. All those things took time. But it's funny also that you mentioned this thing about identity. I met this child a little while ago who had a spinal cord injury, and their mum was telling me that the little one didn't look in the mirror for about 3 or 4 months after the accident. I was the same, actually. I didn't look in the mirror for, I think, a year or 2 after the accident. So it takes a long time to, I look in the mirror too much now, but it takes a long time to rebuild your identity and be ready to go out into the world. But I never lost the dream of wanting to be a doctor. And my mum, again, she was always supportive of that, because this is a journey that we took together, and she wanted me to make that dream happen. And I just remember having that conversation where time came for us to come back to Gold Coast and get back to medical school, and she said, let's just do it, let's just go and get it done. So she's been a big part of that journey.
So it sounds like, a lot of your strength and courage came from Chithrani. So where did you get your strength and courage from? I guess this would have been quite, a scary experience. I mean, it sounds like you were quite alone as well. So where did you find all that courage and strength?
Well, I think when things happen, we usually have a choice to just face the challenge or just, drop out of it. So that was a choice I made, because he's my son, and I believe that's what mothers do. And that's what my mother has taught me also. She's been a huge influence in my life. She was a tower of strength in my journey, from childhood to adulthood to motherhood. So I think I've learned a lot from her. And every little thing I've achieved, she was always very proud of me. So that gave me even wanting to do more, just so I knew that there is someone in the world who was really proud of my achievements. So I did the same. After I became a mother, I wanted my children to feel the same, feel safe and always supported. I am very protective of my son, and I would do anything for him. If I could give my spinal cord today to him, I would, in the blink of an eye. I won't think twice.
Oh, well, it sounds like strength and courage is something that's definitely run through your family, and that's something that you were able to experience as a child, and then you were able to pass that on to Dinesh. So as well, I guess post the accident, you've gone on to do your master's in rehabilitation and counselling. So I guess I'm assuming that was quite inspired by Dinesh and both of your experiences. So how was that going? What was that experience like, going back and studying and finishing that master's degree, or wanting to do it?
Well, to be honest, looking back, sometimes I now wonder, how did I even manage to include studies into my full-time mum role, I would say. But, I had a really good mentor that when the times were quite challenging, she actually sat with me and she supported me, and she helped me through my studies. And also I realized that I will be able to support reach out to people with disability and advocate for them in a very professional manner if I had that education background within me. Because through our journey, I noticed that lots of people with disability are not well supported. And I started advocating for them as we were just finding our ways around how to manage everything. Then as we got to a better place in our journey, I realized that we need to reach out to others and we have to start helping them also. So that's how I got to completing my studies, and I just started off with my graduate certificate and case management. After finishing that, I went that extra mile to complete my master's, and I'm really happy that I did it. So I'm able to support a lot of people today.
She's great. Mum's fierce. Speaking of strength, she does Muay Thai as well, and she's when you see her kick and punch, incredibly strong.
Oh, I'd love to see that. Well, yeah, like that. I mean, that's truly inspiring, and it must be quite fulfilling knowing that, you know, you've gone through quite a experience, and you've been able to help, you know, through your own experiences, you've been able to help other people through something that you've gone through. So yeah, that's very, very inspiring. So outside of what you both, I guess, you know, outside of your normal day jobs, you're both quite involved with being an advocate for disability. So what are some of those incentives that you're involved in?
I think one of the biggest things that we both learned is that you just got to help one person at a time. So we'd often get either emails or text messages or people reaching out for something. You know, I really want to study this, but the university is saying no, or mum might say, you know, I have trouble accessing this or that. So we really believe that, you know, everyone needs to help one person at a time. Because my mum, again, she loves to say that by helping one person, you might not change the world, but you'll change the world for them. And it's a really powerful philosophy. I think that's really stuck with our family, our little family, me and mum. So yeah, but we, you know, there are a bunch of other great things. I work with the Gold Coast Titans, who have a disability rugby league team, and it's one of the first of its kind in the country. But they've just been great because it has impact way beyond the sport into people's lives and health and employment. I do a bit of work with a couple of other organisations in disability. During COVID-19, we did a bunch of stuff for people with disability because there were all these things happening that put them at risk. Even food access and healthcare access became difficult. So we did a bit of things around that. What else?
Yeah, I think we believe opportunity is everything. Sometimes people can't achieve their goals because they don't have opportunities. And Dinesh and I are making use of the networks that we have built, and we reach out to people and we make sure we try and connect them with those supports and services so they can actually have those opportunities.
That's really nice. And for people listening in today, and somebody that might be going through, you know, some difficult times, what's one piece of advice you would give them?
Okay, someone once said that your hardest times often lead to the greatest moments in your life. We must keep going. Tough times will only help you to become stronger. And we've learned that through our lived experience. Life is full of challenges. So I guess facing our challenges have made us stronger. And challenges would help you grow as a better person as well.
And I like to think that you can't forge a sword until you beat steel in molten hot fire. So, you know, these challenges, they just make us stronger and sharper. It's hard though. Certain things aren't easy, but neither is, you know, if you go to climb Everest, it's not an easy journey, but when you get to the top, it's amazing. So I think you just have to keep going, and you never know what life throws you, right? Like the last thing I did standing up to this point was to hug my mom. So I didn't know that was the last time I was going to hug my mom that day. So you don't know, life changes within seconds, but you just have to keep going. I love the poem Invictus. So one of my friends hung it up by my bedside after I had the accident. So every day I'd look over and I'd see the poem Invictus. And if you haven't read it before, the word means invincible. And the guy who wrote it, he talks about, I think the history is that he had some health issues, and his leg was about to be amputated, and he wrote the poem around that. But he talks about how all these things could happen, but his head is bloody, but he won't bow, and how he's the master of his fate and the captain of his soul. So we are all the captains of our soul. I'm going to remember that.
Well, thank you. I think that they're both really great pieces of advice, and I think that you are a testament to that piece of advice that, you know, those tough times really do make you stronger. So I guess that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you all so much for your time today, and especially to our panelists. I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story. I can say that it is really, truly inspiring. We hope that you've enjoyed the conversation, and stay tuned for our next episode. And if you'd like to stream any of Credabl's previous webinars, then we have a growing library on our website. So feel free to check it out there, or get in touch with one of us, and we can share it with you. So have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us. Before we go, I think I want to do a big shout out to the women in medicine who supported my career. I am here because of a lot of women that were there for me when I was coming through medical school and up. And it goes from one of my best friends, who even helped me eat and hung out with me on those long days when we were in the hospital as medical students, to my boss, who offered to give up a part of her salary when I was having trouble getting my internship, to my boss, who fought for me to advance my career and to become a registrar today. So I have been incredibly lucky to have these women in medicine who've stood up for me and fought for me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.